This is We All Be, Newsfree Dixie for the 21st century. See how it works? Somewhere. Can you dig it?
And so just want you to know. Man, I looked at that smile on your face just now. And the first time I ever wished I was a photographer to take that picture and let the world see that honesty and that integrity. And know some of the things I know, how you drive all over the country to chase us down. Chase us down. Okay? We move so fast. I don't know if you're married, I don't know if you're a family, I don't know if you're a wife. Okay? But when we get on here, we bosom friends. Anytime I see you, I stop whatever I'm doing. Hey, my man, how are you? Hey. Hey, man, what, that's, I owe that to you. It's the obligation that you have. How old are you?
Oh, 36.
No, you don't have the right to do what 36 people do. You don't have the right to go to the dance or go to the party. You don't have a right to take that trip to Europe when I might need that plane fare to fly somebody else to feed my people that love me. You feed them. Oh, it's one thing being hungry from food. Right. There's another thing being hungry for information.
That's right.
And that's you to feed them. You got to be the farmer. You got to grow the crop. You got to till the grain. And at nighttime, when you hear something that sounds like water, you got to go see if the crop's going to be flooded. That's your job, man.
Hey, everybody, this is Brother Ron. I am asking you all to do me a big favor. Think about supporting the We All Be movement. Your donation is tax deductible. The We All Be Group Incorporated is a recognized 501c3. And I'm just asking you all because I want to keep on bringing y'all quality work through the way that I know how to do best. And I'm going to sing my praises and toot my horn. A lot of y'all were not hip to Dick Gregory until Brother Ron brought him on the We All Be platform, until that Django review we did. Y'all seen another side of Judge Joe Brown, and Judge Joe Brown's message has been amplified. But it was We All Be that brought Judge Joe Brown to y'all back in 2014. And so many others. And we covered so many things. So help us out so we can help you all. Peace. Guess who's back? Back again. Brother Ron. Tell a friend. Guess who's back and still black? Guess who's back and still black? How y'all doing tonight out there? The We All Be tribes people. Love you madly. Thank y'all for joining us for a kind of late night edition, early late night edition of We All Be Newsfree Dixie for the 21st century. I'm your host for this empowerment edutainment segment, Brother Ron. Yeah, I see everybody in the house tonight. Shout out. I know you are. Oh, Lodo. What's up? Sister Lauda. I know you were. I just couldn't get under the Armenian. So it's kind of, Sister Gail, how you doing? Brother DJ, this DJ, I don't know if DJ, I don't know if I'm pronouncing right, my bad, but thank you for tuning out to tune in
to get in where you fit in, everybody, because we all be in it to win it. There's a lot going on, but I wanted to, get in the habit of being consistent as it relates to getting on the air and sharing my points of views. Like sometimes I can overthink situations and stuff like that. I see everybody just get out there and they say what they want to say, not where do what they want to do, say what they want to say. You remember Devin the Dude? Yeah, Devin the Dude is so underrated. I love Devin the Dude. He had that doobie ashtray. He also had that do what you want to do, say what you want to say. So that's why I'm in. I'm in that space right now. Like I said, I saw that Top Gun movie, part 2, and y'all should check it out. But one thing that stuck with me was when Maverick said, "Don't think, just do. Stop thinking and just do it. Do it, do it, do it." To the hopper. But yeah, we're gonna talk about. I'm gonna keep this probably like an hour. I want to start getting good at. It's hard for me to contain myself when I get so passionate about the subject matter. But I had a chance to see the Chris Rock special, Selective, Outrage, and I saw the feedback. I didn't really look into the feedback yet because I wanted to see the show for myself. I saw people flood my timelines, my social media timelines, with their respective opinions, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. So I took it upon myself to watch the hour plus long special, like an hour and 9 minutes, what I saw, because from my understanding, it was live streamed Saturday night from MOOR, from Tubman City, a chocolate city, Baltimore. It was live streamed. That was the first time I think Netflix live streamed something to a global audience. Millions of people tune in or tune out to tune in to get in where they fit in. And Chris Rock did his thing. So I saw that actually early Monday afternoon. I checked it out. My thoughts really is that I thought Chris Rock did a great job. I really did. I honestly thought that Chris Rock did a great job. I know people are in their feelings about some of the stuff he said, and people want to say that he was still very much angry at Will Smith. And I'm gonna tell you something. He has a right to still be angry at Will Smith, at Will and Jada, for their questionable behavior. And people say he messed up the joke. I said, no. See, this is like Tupac. I said Tupac, but Chris Rock, the last few minutes of the show, he went out. He hit him up. He hit him up. Will Smith. He hit him up. Will and Jada. He did his hit him up version on Will and Jada. He did his Tupac hit him up. If you think about the greatest hip hop diss song of all time, Tupac's hit him up. It's not because you can think about a lot of great diss songs in hip hop history, rap history. You can think about, of course, Ether, No Vaseline, and a couple of others. They great wordplay, rhyme scheme, flow, whatever. But what makes Tupac's hit 'em up so spectacular is the emotion, the raw emotion, unfiltered, giving no, two F's about anything, saying what he want to say, do it how you want to do it. And that's what Chris Rock did them last few minutes of his special. He lit Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith up. And I applaud him for that. Right on. And people say they got a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that because he did his thing. And even for the rest of the special, like he started off with, he talked about selective outrage. How is it that y'all want to cancel one person but keep another person for doing the same thing? Like y'all cancel one person for doing a similar thing to another person y'all don't want to cancel. Like he made the comparison between Michael Jackson and R. Kelly. And I know some diehard Michael Jackson fans and diehard R. Kelly fans, and I had no problem with what he said. I really don't, because he's a comedian, and a comedian's supposed to get you out of your comfort zone. The best comedians provoke thought, they court controversy, and they make you think outside your comfort zone. They actually say the things that a lot of people think but are afraid to say. And Chris Rock has made a career out of saying things that people think, but they are afraid to say. So even with the Michael Jackson thing and R. Kelly thing, I did not find it offensive. I actually laughed because I still play Michael Jackson and R. Kelly. I love both of them. And it's funny because I would hear R. Kelly play at Repass. Nobody said turn that MF off. I would hear R. Kelly play at barbershops, restaurants, and other public venues, parties. Nobody never ever said, never ever said, turn off that R. Kelly, man. One time I had an incident. It was over 20 plus years ago. I met this sister at a family friend's wedding, and we exchanged numbers. And I spoke to her over the phone. And this had to be like 2002. This is like, after all this, the sex tape with R. Kelly, this is right, the best of both worlds. R. Kelly and Jay-Z did their album together. They're supposed to be on this world or this big tour. And then all of a sudden the sex tape came out with R. Kelly allegedly in it. Some people said it was his brother. I don't know. A lot of black folks look alike. But I remember I told the sister, yeah, I love R. Kelly music. And she got upset with me. She didn't talk to me anymore. She hanged up in my face and never spoke to me, never no more. And that was over 20 years ago, and I still listen to R. Kelly. I was telling a friend of mine, one of my favorite R. Kelly songs is Hair Braider. I love Hair Braider. I love the beat. I love the lyrics. I love the way he sings. And I want R. Kelly out of prison because we need more of his music. He still got a lot of music left in him. He needs to turn out that catalog, the rest of what he got left in him. He got a voice. Get R. Kelly out of jail. Free R. Kelly. And y'all can say what y'all want to say about that, but it's just despicable. America is so despicable, it's so hypocritical because you build up one, but you tear down the other. You know what I'm saying? And we all human. I'm not gonna I still listen to Chuck Berry. I know Chuck Berry got in trouble with some stuff. A lot of people get in trouble with stuff. I don't mean you should cancel their works. It don't mean you should change their works. Like with Mark Twain, they want to change Huckleberry Finn, or they have changed Huckleberry Finn. And really, that's offensive to me to change the words of this original American genius and his thoughts on race and stuff like that. He basically humanized black folk in Huckleberry Finn. He gave a so-called Negro or black man a name. He acknowledged that the black man exists and wasn't invisible. So why don't you want to make the black man or black people invisible man or visible people? I should read that Ralph Ellison novel, Invisible Man. That's well worth to read. That was his magnum opus. But then he said OJ, the football player murderer. And we know OJ was found now guilty. Orenthal James Simpson, isn't it? Orenthal James Simpson was found not guilty in the court of law. Now he lost the civil court trial. That's some BS, whatever. But quite frankly, I never thought OJ did it. I can still remember from this had to be almost 30 years ago when that whole horrible thing happened with Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. I remember watching the news. This is before the car chase and all this stuff. They said the news anchor was doing a voiceover over the scene of the crime scene, right? And I can remember the news anchor person saying, well, OJ is not considered a suspect. But lo and behold, they had Orenthal James Simpson handcuffed by a tree in the yard. But he wasn't a suspect, but he had, I that's something that stayed with me all these years, that he's not a suspect, but you show him on TV, on national television with his arms behind his back, handcuffed. But the OJ thing is interesting because if you do your research, people who attended the trial had a different perception of it versus those of us who watched it on TV. And there's a lot of things they do who control the narrative. How it's like with the Rodney King thing. There was two other black men in the car with Rodney King, but when they tell the Rodney King story, it's like that he was only one person in the car that the cops chose to get and beat up. But there was two other black people in the car with Rodney King, and that's something you got to look on. As a matter of fact, one of the passengers was interviewed, I think, by Sally Jesse Raphael on one of those talk shows back in the 90s, and ended up dying in a crazy car accident not that long thereafter. It's like he was in fear of his life while he was being interviewed. So, who approved these scripts? But you know, Chris Rock said OJ murderer. OJ didn't do that. I don't. He might know who did it, but there's also was a lot of murders around that the Cole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman situation, where you had the Mezzaluna restaurant in Brentwood, when Nicole Brown Simpson had her last meal, and Ronald Goldman was the waiter there. Allegedly, the story was that she left her glasses or something, and he was returning her glasses to her at her residence when they both got killed. But that restaurant was known as an organized crime front for drug trafficking. Some of the waiters, from my understanding, some of the employees that worked there were involved in the drug trade. And you know, you had a Ronald Goldman friend get killed at an ATM. This waiter that worked at the Mezzaluna restaurant. I think they raised it. They destroyed that restaurant several years ago. That restaurant was razed. We call it razed to the ground, whatever. They destroyed it. But Ronald Goldman's friend, who was a waiter there, he was killed at an ATM execution style in front of his girlfriend. And this guy was a waiter, but yeah, he had a Mercedes, and he had, I think he was staying in a penthouse or a condominium or something like that. So I don't know how he supported himself. But you know what's interesting? There is a clip of Ronald Goldman on a dating show, like a year or so before he was killed, and it's like weird watching Ronald Goldman, because you look at Ronald Goldman as being this ghost figure, this shadowy, this like statistic. He's just a name. You don't, associate a person that's Ronald Goldman, but to see him at a dating show, being himself, being a real live breathing human being, and to know as you were watching that dating show clip what was in store for him not that long after is eerie to me. So I believe that Ronald Goldman dating show clip is still online. But no, it's like it's a serial killer that confessed to killing Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. I think he's on death row down in Florida. I'm not mistaken. They did I want to say they did a Discovery documentary. Was it Glenn Rogers or something? Let me look it up. See, what I like about this is that if you are actually a researcher and a seeker of truth, you shouldn't take what Chris Rock or anybody say at face value. You should want to dig deeper and deeper. You should want to know the truth for yourself. And that's best rewarded by research. Yeah, Glenn Rogers, known as the cross-country killer or the Casanova killer. Allegedly, he confessed to the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. And, and Nicole had a real bad drug habit. Her and her friend Faye Resnick, I believe Faye Resnick supposed to have been there that night. But there's other murders that is kind of connected to the Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman murder. It was a club owner that was killed in a vicious way. There's a couple of murders that happened around that time that are kind of connected to Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. And the thing about it was like, if OJ did it, why was there more blood in the Bronco? Like, how was he able to clean himself up so well for the red eye from LA to Chicago? Nobody saw. I mean, he should have had all type of cuts and everything on him. People on the plane didn't see anything unusual about his appearance. I think he had a cut on his finger, whatever. But if you look at the crime scene photos and the brutality and all the blood, surely there should be more blood in his Bronco, right? And OJ, how was he able to get ready so fast? I know that people believe them Hearst commercials back in the day where OJ was running through the airport. It is funny to look at them Hearst commercials now, because as you notice, OJ is the only black person at the airports. All these white people cheering OJ on. Go, Juice, go, OJ. OJ, he jumping over suitcases. I'm OJ Simpson. And, OJ, I don't believe he did it. I never did. I can't think of any high-profile black celebrity that has been accused of killing white people in this country. You can't name me one high-profile black celebrity outside of OJ who has been accused of killing white people. Because black celebrities, they love white people. That's how they make their money. Like, y'all worship these athletes and entertainers. They make their money through the white society. The white folks. You white folks entertainment. So you look at these NBA ball players and stuff like that. They sign them contracts. You take their money, they own you. So you owe me something. You owe me something. So you sign them contracts, they own you, partner. So, with the John Morant situation. But some people found them jokes offensive about the R. Kelly, Michael Jackson thing and the OJ thing. I didn't care about it. Then he talked about how Robert Kardashian, the patriarch of the Kardashian family, was cursed because he helped OJ and said, said his daughters will only screw crazy nagas, nagas, crazy ones. So that's interesting. Um, I actually think that one of the Kardashians is actually OJ's daughter. Y'all know Chloe. I think Chloe, that's OJ's daughter, because she look like OJ's daughter. Like she like one of OJ's daughter, actual like known daughters. She got she remind. It wouldn't surprise me if Khloe Kardashian was OJ's biological daughter, because they were real close. OJ and the Kardashian, Robert Kardashian, and let me see what else. He also the Meghan Markle thing, right? Meghan Markle. I'm gonna be honest, I never thought I didn't know she was black. And when I first seen Meghan Markle, she didn't come across as being black to me. I know she got a black mama, but if you looked at her and stuff like that and didn't know her and all that, you wouldn't assume she was a black woman. And that was funny about the racism, the royal family, they invented racism, la da da da. And my thing about racism is that racism is not about hate. I don't see racism as being about power, leverage, and privilege. Racism is about power, leverage, and privilege. You could be a racist and love black people. There are a lot of racists that love black people, that like black people, that help black people. Uh, you know, Racism is not about hate. Because you think about it, people say we live in a racist system, right? Okay, if we live in a racist system, the racist people allow so-called oppressed people to have a little bit of money, to make some money, to have access to some food and other resources, to have access to a education or indoctrination, right? So the racists can't be all that bad if they give you food, clothing, and shelter, especially during slavery. I think we're weird. I think that we're confused about what we want and who we should be mad at. It's easy to get mad at the court jester. The court jester is just doing the bidding of his king. Chris Rock understands who his master is. It's not black folk. Chris Rock does not answer the black folk. He is doing the bidding of his master. Like he joked about Will Smith. He like looking at watching the Emancipation, the Will Smith movie that bombed, that came out after the slap, right? And it bombed. And he said, yeah, massa, whoop him, massa, whoop him. Will Smith playing a slave who ended up enlisting in the Civil War. It's based on a true story. That infamous picture of the black man with his back out and all them welts and scar and tissue from being whipped whipped many times over the course of his life. So Will Smith actually brought that man's amazing story to life. I'm gonna check it out. I have not checked it out. I have not checked out Woman King, but I'm gonna check them out because I don't follow the flow of the crowd. But he was saying, "Yeah, whoop a massa, whoop a massa." He said he was encouraging Master to whoop that trick, right? And he called Will Smith Suge Smith. That was hilarious. To me, that was funny. The whole Jada Will thing, it reminds me of a comedic version of Tupac's "Hit 'Em Up." That's how I watch it, and I feel like his set was overall strong. It's hard to be, what Chris Rock did back in the '90s for the HBO specials. They were revolutionary, innovative. It was a different time. In the 1990s, you didn't have social media. Now people saying, well, this special is kind of underwhelming. It wasn't underwhelming. It actually made me laugh. Now, Dave Chappelle, and I love Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle, why so serious? If you look at, he did, it was 846 special, the one he did at his farm with George Floyd. Dave Chappelle has misspoke on some things. Like some of his facts were off. but maybe that was on purpose for comedic effect. But y'all would take what Dave Chappelle says the gospel truth, but some of his facts about what he was talking about were off. But I respect the genius that is Dave Chappelle. He is a master of his craft, and he knows his audience very well. Chris Rock is a master of his craft. I enjoyed the special. I couldn't get into Tambourine like I got into this one. Tambourine was kind of hard to get into for me, but this one he did was kind of a throwback to his 90s specials on HBO, but it's a different time. Everything's so overexposed now. It's hard to come up with something original and innovative when everything is out there. You know what I'm saying? Like social media, there was no Netflix back then. There was no social media back then. So you say, well, it wasn't as good as the ones back then. What made those ones so special because of how limited you had, resources to access some of that stuff. You think about, I talk about the Dick Gregory when he was a young man at the height of his comedic career. They didn't have no social media back then. They only had 3 major networks. You had 3 big networks that were responsible for most of the media that Americans were able to access. So that's what CBS, NBC, ABC, right? 3 major networks. And now, even today, what's interesting, you got on a handful of corporations that control like 95% of the media in America. How we see ourselves. So I don't know. I'm gonna watch the special again. I had no problems with it. Chris Rock talked about Meghan Markle. It reminds me what he talked about in one of his specials on, I think it was HBO, where he said if cigarettes were made by a black family in Mississippi with jerry curls, it'll be illegal as an MF. And he's telling the truth. Because look at how they treat black entrepreneurs when it comes to the so-called legal weed. You know what I'm saying? Think about all the black folks that went to prison over the years and decades. And now the thing that made them criminals is the thing that making white folks billionaires and millionaires many times over. The stuff that broke up families is now making families have generational wealth. It's now creating generational wealth for families. And it's fascinating. So let me check the let's see. Hey, how you doing, Debbie Media? Love you, man. Since I'm looking at y'all active in these comments. Yeah, hit that like. Yep. Yeah, very educated. We all be trying to check out your comments. Okay. So yeah, I would tell people to look at the Chris Rock special and form their own opinion. Even friends of mine, supporters of this channel, of this movement, they and their feelings about how they feel about Chris Rock. Some people think he's washed up, but like he said, he played Pookie while Will Smith played Muhammad Ali. He did movies where he kept his shirt on. Like he said, even if he had to do open heart surgery in the movie, if they perform open heart surgery on him in the movie, he'll still wear a sweater. Well, Will Smith is ripped. Will Smith is a much bigger guy. So I don't see what people problem with him stating the obvious, and people got problem with him talking about slavery. And I think Chris Rock did what comedians supposed to do. He brought it back to the old school basics, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I guess moving on. And I want to talk about Ja Morant. Shorty want to be a thug. Say they want to be. Say he want to be. Shorty want to be a thug. You know that Shorty want to be a thug song on All Eyes on Me from Tupac. Was a nice middle class. Nobody knew the dirt that he would do. We got a little bigger. I think that's Ja Morant. Because from my understanding, Ja Morant came from a 2-parent household. Kind of like a Huxtable, very positive father in his life, mom in his life, family in his life. He didn't come from a broken environment. So what's going on with Ja? Ja, it's murder, Morant. Holla, holla. So now they're talking about he probably be suspended indefinitely. So he could be facing up a 50-game suspension from the NBA. And the crazy thing about it is, what really brought this to his door was not even the stuff that happened over the summer last year, but him waving a gun on Instagram Live. And I'll never, and the way he waved it was weird. It's like, be more concerned about him knowing gun safety rather than just waving a gun away. I mean, it was weird how he was doing it. And they said he would listen to NBA YoungBoy in the background. And it was interesting because NBA YoungBoy did a couple, I don't know if they lives or interviews, where he talked about how he felt bad for misleading the young people with his music. Like, he felt responsible for young people going out doing crazy violent stuff because of the content of his music. And that's NBA YoungBoy said that he felt like, you know, he instead of using his music for good, he was sowing bad seeds into the people, in particular young people. So that's NBA YoungBoy, who's not even, is NBA YoungBoy even 25? He got about 25 kids. But I'm saying the fact that he recognized that his music was used to manifest violence among, in particular, Black people, is saying something. But the fact that Ja Morant is listening to the NBA YoungBoy in the background, from my understanding, showing the gun, dancing with his shirt off in the strip club, he didn't get the memo. What is unfortunate about Ja Morant is that Ja Morant is a very wealthy young Black man who represents a very poor city, Memphis. Memphis is a poverty-stricken city. It's a wealthy city. See, the funny thing about Memphis got a lot of wealth. There's a lot of millionaires that live in Memphis. There's a lot of millionaires like Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx. He's a billionaire. He lives in Memphis proper. There's Fortune 500 companies headquartered. Like, you got AutoZone, you got FedEx, you got Amazon, got a big distribution hub in Memphis. You got a lot of places and a lot of money, but it's not flowing to the majority of the people here. Somebody said recently over 20-something% of Black people in Memphis live in poverty, live below the poverty line, something like that. And this is a grimy, grind city. It's a proud city. It's a culturally rich city. But the people outlook is very poor. And so Ja Morant is in a city that's poverty stricken, with all his hundreds of millions of dollars, doing silly stuff. But is it all on him? It's like, it reminds me what Dick Gregory was saying: don't drive your Bentley or Rolls Royce through the hood. You're a Bentley or you're a Rolls Royce, what you doing in the hood? So why is Ja Morant, I mean, he at this level, why he's in the hood? But it's not even about that. It's about the fact that Ja Morant could use his platform for a greater good. Now, Memphis is suffering right now. And you got to hear me out. I talked about it on my lives yesterday about the Gershon Freeman situation. Y'all know about Tyree Nichols, but the Gershon Freeman situation, where you had CEOs, both men and women. It looked like it was some men and women, Black men and Black women, it looks like, allegedly, were involved in the beating death of a 33-year-old Black man who was bucky naked on camera back on October 5th of 2022. You have the crime rate up here, the carjackings, a lot of stuff that's been happening in Memphis. They got 11-year-old kids carjacking people, robbing people in Memphis. Memphis is strange. Ja Morant could have used his big platform to speak about these things, to shed a light on these things. But I don't know, man. I mean, he's 23. I believe that he had a mental episode because of the pressures he's probably under. I can't appreciate the pressures he is under. He is under by being one of the faces of the league, getting these big contracts, not only from the Grizzlies, the $230 million contract, but also, you know, Powerade and Nike. And I don't know his pressures, but I know one thing: he ain't no gangster. I mean, he looks goofy doing that. And I just think that he should be okay and be comfortable in his own skin, but it seems like he don't know who he really is. He don't know who he really is. And that's unfortunate, but it's not too late. So with that said, I wish him the best on that. But man, we could use a brother like him that could bring some light to the things going on in Memphis right now. I mean, he could have used platform to talk about, educate his fans, his followers about what's happening in Memphis. It's a lot of stuff he could have done. But the thing about it is, these athletes are no different from the rappers. They're given a lot of money early on, and they're used by the powers that be to distract the people from investing in themselves. You got a lot of folks I know, not only in Memphis, but also around the country. They said because they said, well, can the Grizzlies still win without Ja? Who cares? Who cares about the Grizzlies? Why is it that we lost, boss, we lose, we win, boss? I'm not employed by the Memphis Grizzlies. Whether they win, lose, and draw don't make a difference to me. It's not my concern. Now, I like cheering them on. I enjoyed their playoff run last year. I thought they could have beat the Golden State Warriors if Ja didn't get hurt and some other things didn't happen. Evidently, the Golden State Warriors were afraid of the Grizzlies because Klay Thompson kept on talking about them after they won the championship. So, and another thing, when Chris Rock talked about, checking out a baby's color, like he made the Meghan Markle joke about Meghan Markle said allegedly that they asked her how brown the baby gonna be. And Chris Rock made a joke about how you check to see how brown a black baby gonna be. And he said, the baby could either be a Steph Curry or it could be a Draymond Green. So he made one of them colorism jokes, and people got their feelings about that. I have no problem with that because colorism is real in the black community. Colorism is real. Like Israel is real, man. And it is what it is, man. It is, it is what it is. And truth hurts. And Chris Rock, he just told the truth. And he poke fun at everybody. He's an insult comic. He's like Don Rickles. He's the blackface version of Don Rickles. I think Chris Rock is a little bit nicer than Don Rickles. There were people that wanted to kill and beat up Don Rickles for saying the stuff he was saying back in the day. And people said, who is Don Rickles? Just take a look. It's all online. It'll be so sublime. Just check it out for yourself. Find out who Don Rickles was. And I like Lisa Lampanelli. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know if she retired from comedy or none of it. I used to like listen to Lisa Lampanelli when she talk about the blacks and stuff. The blacks, because she like brothers. She like dating brothers, from my understanding. She loved black men. But she talking about the blacks, and she was being very offensive about black people and other people. And I had no offense to that. It don't bother me. It doesn't bother me. But for some reason, people are bothered by Chris Rock. All of us are some slaves. Ain't nobody free, because if you some people got out, people addicted to sports, other forms of entertainment, porn. We all got our demons and addictions. So none of us is really free from anything in this system. And that's by design. But for me to point and call another slave out for being a slave when I'm a slave too, ain't nobody talking about no liberation. People talk about reparations, and all of this is just talk. What we gonna do about reparations? Because how can you say I want reparations, but yet you keep on supporting people who don't want to give you reparations? And yet you talk about you mad at Chris Rock. No, you should be mad at yourself. You confusing me. Somebody said, bald-headed Jamaican, much respect to you, brother. You said that when my Ben Crump video, you posted in the comments something to the fact that if you take the money, that means you're okay with police brutality. We need Johnny Cochran. Johnny Cochran got money for his clients. Like Geronimo Pratt was a victim of police and government misconduct. That was Johnny Cochran's client. And Geronimo Pratt got paid millions of dollars. But he lost decades of his life in prison. This is Tupac's godfather, Geronimo Pratt. I don't think just because you take money for a grievance mean that you co-sign what they did to your loved one. I don't agree with that. But also, I don't. My thing is, what y'all gonna do about it? Because y'all don't want to do what it takes. If you're not willing to die for it, get the word freedom out your vocabulary. If you are not willing to die for it, get the word freedom out of your vocabulary. If you're not willing to die for it, get the word freedom out of your vocabulary. Because the people keep on talking about, well, some confessions are going on, and this person a raccoon, that person doing this and that, and everybody's performing. Everybody's a court jester. Everybody's a clown. The tears of a clown. So my thing is, people making fun of other clowns, and they're a slave, they're a clown too. And what are we gonna do about it? Like I said, John Morant is a young black man, flush with cash. He don't know what to do with himself. He went to college, but he's not seem like he's not educated on knowledge of self. And he got all this money, he's bored, he don't know what to do with himself. Whereas you got all these issues that he could create a space for. He could invest in young activists and other people here. It's like when I see black lesbian mentions, the lesbians, the alphabet agenda when it comes to Black Lives Matter. Here he's got mostly black hetero males are the victims of these crimes that they're winning a lottery off of. But yet you're not addressing, like, you say you're serious about Black Lives Matter, but if you got activists that are on the front lines, why couldn't they create a bail fund for the activists and a legal defense fund for the activists? They was able to raise, the LLC was able to raise millions and millions of dollars from corporations and other entities. Why did they not establish a legal defense fund and a bail fund to really take on dismantling this so-called system of white supremacy? But yet you're buying mansions and everything. You putting your baby daddy on the payroll. You doing everything but investing in our people when it comes to liberating our people from the terrors of this system that's just us, with no justice, just us. So my thing is, it comes to a point. Ben Crump is not a problem to me, because Ben Crump is doing what he's supposed to do as it relates to the family getting the bag. He's the bag man. Okay. Um, Me worrying about if John Morant will ever play for the Grizzlies is not a concern to me. If I can't pay my rent and my car note or my light bill on time, I'm not worried about John Morant. Okay. Okay. Yeah, my plug went out. I thought I had it plugged up. It was plugged up, but I hope y'all can hear me. But the plug disconnected. I'm in the middle of my rant and it goes out. But what is interesting that I believe that you think about 60 years ago, the revolutionaries of 60 years ago would have been rappers today, like the H. Rap Browns, the Kwame Torres, the our Prentice Bunchy Carters, the Fred Hampton Seniors. They would have been rappers today, and the rappers of today would have been revolutionaries. You think about Tupac, but a lot of like even Nipsey probably, they would have been the revolutionaries. It's been the flip. Everything flipped. You understand? So you can't expect a John Morant or these guys to have a consciousness of a Muhammad Ali or a Jim Brown or people like that, because the circumstances have been different. Like, Jim Brown and Ali wasn't making hundreds of millions of dollars like these athletes like LeBron and John Morant and others are making. So they're more disconnected from the community. And these guys back in the day had to get jobs in the off season just to support themselves, because they wasn't making them much as professional athletes as the professional athletes are making today. So I think they were able, just like I think that the activists from back then were more effective than they are today in a lot of ways, because they didn't have social media. They wasn't asocial or antisocial. They had to go into the community to build relationships with the community in order to organize the community. Now you got a lot of folks that just popping up. It's a pop-up type of phenomenon where they're not going into the communities. They're not talking with people at the events. They're not connected. They're not knowing. They're not connecting the face and name with a story. You know what I'm saying? So with all this technology that's supposed to make the world a smaller place, a more accessible place, neighbors are not neighbors to each other. We don't know our neighbors. We don't know our family. Even though we got all this technology to be able to make the world so-called smaller than what it is or what it has been in the past. So, but there's a lot of stuff going on, and people are more concerned about bread and circuses. There's a lot of people catching hell right now, and people just want to talk about these celebrities. And that's a problem. Like, with Chris Rock, God bless him. I have no problem with him. With Ja, God bless him. Hope he get this situated, but it's not going to change the direction or the projection of my life, whatever happens to him, because he made choices. And when you take their money, you play by their rules. They own you. People forget, when you take their money, they own you. You don't have any rights. They own you. It's like when you join the military, when you sign your name on the dotted line, they owe you or own you. I mean, Memphis, like Gas Robert done did it to everybody. What's interesting is that people don't understand. It's like people think I'm living half the hog. I'm not grifting anybody. I'm really working. I got to wake up at 5 o'clock. Or I don't wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I got to be at work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and my workday doesn't end to 8 o'clock at night. So, people say, well, where you been? I said, well, I've been trying to survive. I think everybody's trying to survive, but I'm doing this as a service to the community. This ain't making me rich doing this. I know there's some people out here that are getting rich off this. This ain't making me rich. Matter of fact, I'm doing a lot of shadow banning and demonetization. They removing videos, and people talking, well, why you haven't seen? Why Dr. Short been on here? They removing my Dr. Short videos. No, I helped put Dr. Short on. Yeah, I put Dr. Short. I've been doing Dr. Short for 10 years this year. I've been doing for Dr. Short for 10 years. And I started interviewing him 10 years ago. So now everybody caught on, but people like, they don't support truth telling. And it's hell for a truth teller or a truth seeker. So I do what I can, but I'm still here. I'm a fighter. And the thing about it is that anything worth having should be also worth fighting for. So I want to encourage folks to stay in the fight. That's important. Yeah, I mean, it's a part of life. I never thought I had to be a morning. I never thought I was a morning person until I became a morning person. You understand? It's funny what you are able to do when you got to do what you got to do. Let me see. Okay, brother. Yeah, I've been in this home for 3 years with 12 houses on the block. Only seen the people next door like 3 times. The house on the other side, I've never seen no one. How it be for real. Nobody knows. So then you be suspicious of people not realize they've been your neighbor for 12 years, or you've been their neighbor for 12 years. I mean, it's important to know people, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? You got all this technology. Even online, people could be whoever they want to be. Filters, you know, you meet a person in person, they don't look like they filter out picture online. You know, the avatar don't match up, things like that. It's just weird. I mean, with different black folks, we were more unified when we was dealing with Jim Crow than we are now. Because one thing black folks out here, hey, well, we're not unified. Well, we were forced to be unified by the white man. The white man forced us to be unified through Jim Crow, and now we want to be with the white folks. White folks told us to stay away from them. They told y'all they were sick, and we want to be with y'all. Stay away from us. Something's wrong with us. White folks will tell us something wrong with them. We want to be with them at all costs, and this is what it's costing us. We have integrated into a burning house. Yeah, when we was forced to deal with each other, that's when we had our greatest victories. Like, even look at the Montgomery bus boycott. It happened because black man, woman, and child was forced to deal with each other for 381 straight days. Yeah, but I mean, it's crazy, man. These people, but what will it take for the people to take over, to say enough is enough? I don't know what's going to take for people to say enough is enough, because when people tell me that, or Malcolm talked about years ago, is still relevant, why should police brutality still be relevant if Malcolm told us this 60 years ago? How can you say you a follower of Malcolm when you said what he said? You know, what he said, like he said it yesterday. He said it yesterday 60 years ago. But why is it that that's cool to think that what Malcolm said about police brutality should be relevant? Or you know, the stuff that we're going through. Who said that you gotta pay this type of rent or pay these type of utilities? You know? No, we don't. I'm just looking through this thing. I'm about to wrap it up. But yeah, it's a fascinating time, and it's no laughing matter. Um, so-called black folks have given up so much for so little. And I saw what happened with the Glorilla Finesse 2 Times situation. These are well-known Memphis rappers. It said 2 women dead. There's a stampede. I wonder, are these rituals? Because, you know, you have this Glorilla and Finesse 2 Times. It's like Finesse 2 Times. Every time you do a concert or a show, always some stuff going down, like shootouts and stuff. I don't know what that's about. And then you think about, they said it was a stampede up in New York at this concert with Glorilla and Finesse 2 Times. Was this a ritual? Because you think about what happened in Houston with the Travis Scott concert. And I know I talked to somebody, Lauren, earlier, Law Dog, talked about CERN, opening up portals and stuff like that. What was that Travis Scott thing about, really? Because that thing looked demonic and satanic. And then you go back years later with Puffy, had that charity event where them people died in the stampede. You know, him and Heavy D, I think Uptown put on a charity event. Is this a ritual for them to go through in order to get what, you know, they desire? I mean, I think it's interesting. You know, I believe the spirit cooking, all this stuff is some real stuff, sex magic, all this stuff that they do. I believe there are real witches out here and warlocks and sorcerers and all that stuff. You know, this famed beast is a monster. So I don't know. I'm not DJ Screw. If it's chopped and screwed, let me see. Hold up. Let me see something. Is this better? I mean, kind of weird, the screen or whatever. There I am. Let's see. Yeah, I was. I think you hear me now. Somebody said something. Somebody said. Are we the Mercury retrograde or something? The brother on YouTube been rising. Yeah, they are picking with me, man, because like they're blocking. I mean, people not getting notifications and they're removing content. You know, they'll send me stuff about it violates community guidelines, and this stuff been up for like several years. I had stuff that been up for 10 years that they removed. Some of they fear for my health or my safety that I may self harm myself. I said this is not even about me trying to do anything that will self harm myself. You know, and it's a never ending battle. It is what it is. Okay. Hey, Darian, what's up? I'm back. Guess who's back and still black? Yes, it's all better now. I can see you. I can see clearly now. Yes, yes. Thank you. Highly favored and blessed. Yes, but it man, it's info wars for real. It's like it's a battle for who's going to control the narrative and things like that. And there's so much that's left out on the table because people getting involved in cult of personality. It's not just black people, but people in general. They like to follow personalities instead of developing their own discernment and developing their third eye. They rather see themselves through somebody else's eyes and be a pawn in somebody else's game. Yeah, I feel like that, Jonathan. Yeah, that's what it is. But I feel very encouraged too because I know it's reaching people, it's reaching the right people, and it's going to help me to level up my game, to change my game plan, and to level up. Because this has been a trying season for me in terms of just getting things going, getting in a certain rhythm and stuff like that. And like I said, like I got to be at work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then it's always at 8 o'clock at night. But in between those times, I'm trying to find a way to free myself and to free the message and to amplify it by any means necessary. Yeah, I know about Germantown. Okay. Yeah, Memphis is an interesting place. Like I said, is engineer poverty because like people are talking about Memphis as a poor town. It's not a poor town. What they do is they try to they don't try. They disenfranchise the majority of the people here, which are black folk. Is a plantation town. Is a corporate plantation town, and we got so-called black representation, but they don't represent our interests as a people, as the majority of this city. They represent the interests of the entities and corporations that put them in their place. They pull their strings. They're just puppets. So, like, even with this mayoral election, you got like 10 to 12 people running, but nobody has really distinguished themselves as being a person that's going to do right by the people. None of them distinguish themselves at this point. And it's still early in the game because the election day is not till October, and we may have more people join the race. 'Cause I think the deadline to announce your candidacy as mayor for the mayor race is in July. So you need a person that's willing to put everything on the line for the right reasons. You need a person that will be willing, who's going to be the next mayor, will be willing to only be a one-term mayor, and not only that, be willing to be recalled because you're trying to do right by the people, because you're cleaning house and you're trying to do right by the people and give people a fair shake in this city. Because majority of people who's from Memphis never had a fair shake in this city. You know, this city will roll out the red carpet for everybody else, but the actual people that's from here. And we got a lot of great folks that's come from this city that represent this city well on the national and international stage, but they won't have anything to do with the city. They hate it, because the way they were treated. But I mean, I guess there's everywhere, anywhere, but it's places like L.A. and New York I will go, and they'll tell me about a person that's doing some amazing stuff, and I'll find out this person got some Memphis connection. But then you talk to this person, they don't want to talk about Memphis. They don't want to have nothing to do with Memphis. They don't want to go back to Memphis, and I can understand, I can overstand that. And we should never forget the ones who did try to do right and did get deleted. But it's like what Dr. John Henry Clark said, you got to bury the man and continue to plan. We had some good ones, like, for example, when they talking about the reparations thing now, who was John Conyers, who passed away, the guy from Detroit. Now they always talking about Sheila Jackson Lee, that she's the lead on that. Sheila Jackson Lee from Texas. But you know who the person was before her in that seat that she occupies now? You know who that person was? Who his name was? Mickey Leland. Look up Mickey Leland from Texas. I think he's from here. The seat that Sheila Jackson Lee occupies in Congress was his seat. This man was a visionary. He was a true humanitarian. He wanted to solve the world's hunger problem. And they killed him in Africa in a so-called plane crash. They could have saved him when his plane crashed into the mountainside, but they waited to get him. So they made sure by the time they reached him, he was dead. That's Mickey Leland. And his wife was pregnant with twins. So I don't know what happened to his wife or his twins, whatnot, but Mickey Leland is a person you don't hear nobody talk about. They don't speak on Mickey Leland. He was a president of the Congressional Black Caucus at one point. And he used to wear like dashikis and stuff to Congress. So he was an eccentric dude, but he loved Black people. He loved humanity. And he gave his life trying to help people, trying to feed the people over in Africa. So that's the person she replaced. Or you think about Charles Rangel, and nobody never talks about really the man who he replaced that can't be replaced. That's the Right Reverend Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who probably was the greatest Black congressman or congressperson we ever sent to Congress. Because Adam Clayton Powell Jr. did a lot of things and got it done for not only Black America, but also America. A lot of things he was a part of that got passed in legislation. It had his fingerprints on it, but he's not talked about a lot. And I think the TV show, The Godfather of Harlem, I think that's a great TV show. And I'm just now getting what this show is about. Forrest Whitaker plays Bumpy Johnson, and it talks about Bumpy's relationship with Malcolm X. He knew Malcolm X from his hustling days, the Detroit Red, but also he was a supporter of Malcolm X in real life. Like, he offered Malcolm X protection, but Malcolm turned it down. You know what happened to Malcolm. But if you look at the Godfather of Harlem TV show, that show is really about exposing who really killed Malcolm X. That show is about exposing who killed Malcolm X. And it's worth watching Because season 3 is about why they killed Malcolm X. Because Malcolm in real life, his plan was to speak before the United Nations and to accuse the United States of violating the human rights of 22 million Black Americans at that time. His job was to shame the United States before the United Nations. And before he could make that speech, the government killed him. Now, people say Nation of Islam, but no, it's not. It's not necessarily the Nation of Islam. Now, you had people in the Nation of Islam organization that were connected to the Malcolm X assassination, but also they were working for the government. They were government agents. So it's like when people tell me, well, the Memphis Police Department killed Dr. King, that's not entirely correct. The government killed Dr. King. Just like the government killed Malcolm X and the government killed Fred Hampton Sr. And so when people don't understand that, that's why I don't understand why people can't understand or overstand. Like, you know, when Ben Crump is helping the family of Malcolm X to sue for $100 million, there's proof that the government was involved in killing Malcolm. Now, how that truth is interpreted and what people that are in so-called positions of power decide to do with that truth is another story. But I saw the last episode of Godfather Harlem this past Sunday, and Bubby was in the room with a CIA heavyweight, more ways than one, named Wild Bill, and his so-called business partner Jose Battle. And what I love about the Godfather Harlem series is that, you know, they have some composite characters, and then they have some historical characters thrown in there. And since, you know, we all got smartphones, you know, smartphone, your little computer in your hand, you can look up these people. Jose Battle was a big drug trafficker from Cuba. And what I like about the Godfather Harlem, they not only tell you or expose you who killed Malcolm X, they'll show you who the real Godfather of Harlem was, the United States government, who brought in the drugs, the doogie, the heroin, the French Connection. That's the government. So the Godfather of Harlem is not really about a gangster. It's about exposing the government's hand in the assassination of Black American leaders and also the destruction of Black communities through drugs that they brought in through their harbors. So I would tell people, instead of looking at a lot of these other crappy shows and a lot of these other shows, look at the Godfather of Harlem and get some history. And just don't take their word for it, but start doing the research and you start connecting the dots. Because it was an Indian freedom fighter from Kenya, Pinto, who was a friend of Malcolm X. You know, he also was a Yaya. We call it Jomo Kenyatta. You know, the Mau Mau's, the Mau Mau's. And he was a part of that. You know, he helped, you know, Jomo Kenyatta and them over in Kenya. And Pinto befriended Malcolm X and basically helped Malcolm X see you need to bring up the United States on charges of human rights violations before the United Nations. And that's what they try to do. And then Pinto got assassinated in front of his daughter. Just a couple days after Malcolm X, they killed Pinto. Look at Pinto. He was a Kenyan freedom fighter who was an Indian. You know, Indian, you know, was an Indian, not Native American, but from India. His folks from India, but he's from Kenya too. So it's a dirty game. It is. It really is a dirty game. So I remember when we were talking to Bobby D. Gregory. You know, Bobby D. Gregory was very critical of the Black Panthers. He didn't really care for the Huey P. Newtons and the Eldridge Cleaver. But he also was in the movie Panther that came out in the 90s, all-star cast. It was a good one. I'll tell y'all need to watch the movie Panther. And he played Reverend Slocum. I think he was a minister named Reverend Slocum in the movie. And he told me that he talked to Melvin Van Peebles, Mario Van Peebles' father. And Melvin asked him, had he read the script yet? And I think Dick Gregory was being kind of dismissive. No, man, read the damn script. He said the purpose of the movie was to show you how the government brought in drugs into the Black communities around the country. So it was not just about Penn, it was showing how the government was complicit in destroying the Black family and the Black community. So this has been an ongoing situation for the last 60 plus years. unofficial, off the record, but official government policy to break up the black family. And you look at now, we got these weaponized celebrities. Even though Ja Morant came from a 2-parent home, parents are decent people, he's acting like the way he act, like he don't got no sense. That's programming, like through the music, through the social media. That's all by design. I mean, it's Hollywood. You know, like the story always not going to be correct. A lot of these so-called based on true story movies are really problematic to me because they don't want to tell you the real story about a lot of things. They'll fictionalize or dramatize, excuse me, a lot of things. The guy named Pinto, I want to say his name Pinto. I mean, look him up. I think I'm gonna get off of here, but I think I gave y'all enough. Pio Gamma Pinto. Pio Gamma Pinto. Let me type his name. Because sometimes I post about him because he died not too long after Malcolm died. They died in February '65. Pio Gamma Pinto. I just put in the chat. That's his name. Pio. That's the guy, Malcolm X friend from Kenya, who tried to help him bring a case before the United Nations about the United States violating the rights of 22 Black Americans. And they ended up killing him right after Malcolm. Like just a couple days after Malcolm got killed, they killed Pio Gamma Pinto over in Kenya in front of his daughter. It's Mickey Leland. Let me see. You got me doing my homework. I'll make sure I spell his name. Mickey. You got it close, but here it is. Okay. Mickey Leland was the brother from Texas who was the representative before Sheila Jackson Lee that killed him in a plane crash over in Africa. I think Eastern Africa back in, I want to say 89. Yeah, August 7, 89. I mean, they, people don't talk about it. He was just 44 years old. They killed him in Ethiopia. He was just 44 years old and got he had 3 children. Like I said, his wife was pregnant with twins at the time of his death. But they don't talk about Mickey Leland. They don't talk about Adam Clayton Powell Jr. They don't talk about the folks who try to do right by the people and honor their commitment to being true public servants. Yeah, it was the killing Malcolm X. Now it was not only the FBI but also the CIA. They tried to poison him a couple of times. But the Godfather of Harlem, I think, does a good job of showing what Malcolm was going through at the time of his death and what really happened to Malcolm. Because people keep on talking about Nation of Islam. Now they did play a part in it, but they wasn't a major part of it. It's like any organization could be compromised by agents. Doesn't mean the whole organization was in on it. I just that's what I'm trying. Like Malcolm's bodyguard, chief bodyguard Eugene Roberts was undercover NYPD, New York Police Department, Bossy program. That don't mean all of the New York Police Department was in on killing Malcolm, but the U.S. government was all in on killing Malcolm. That's been proven. That's been proven, but people in denial about a lot of shit. I mean, scuff, excuse me. And that's a river in Africa, right? Denial. But anyway. That's a good point. Yeah, she had twins on the way when Malcolm got murdered. Cause he had 4 daughters that was already born, and she had her twins. Yeah, Mickey Leland had twins. His wife had twins on the way. Yeah, that's interesting. It's great connect. But I don't know. I'm just thankful I'm able to have some breath in my body to talk about these forgotten people, these heroes and sheroes that we should know. Of course they did. The problem is what you're gonna do about it. they was going to kill Dr. King in Louisville, Kentucky. You know that, right? It was a white police officer that snitched on his fellow police officers. He went to the press or something. He told them, look, there's a plot with the Louisville Police Department, Louisville, Kentucky, because Dr. King his brother A.D. King had a ministry in Louisville. And also it's alleged Dr. King was messing around with a sister, a beautiful black woman who was a state politician from Louisville or from Kentucky. That's another story. But the white police officer said that he heard that some of his colleagues was in on a plot to assassinate King. And then the police people, representatives, said, oh, no, we were just joking. That wasn't true. I think it was true. And if you think about it, too, I met the black police officer who was responsible when Dr. King used to come to Memphis. He was an all-black police security detail. Last time he came to Memphis, he didn't have no protection. And look what happened to him. Because there's a myth about Dr. King and nonviolence. Dr. King kept black dudes with guns around him. I don't know why we allow this thing to go on the way we allowed to go. Dr. King kept black guys with guns around him. Whether it be the Deacons for Defense, I always tell people, I get a pleasure telling people about what the late great Charles Evans told me when Dr. King would visit Jackson, Mississippi. He said he would run, not walk. And Dr. King would tell him, no, Charles, I feel so comfortable because you got all the guns and guns. So as soon as Dr. King didn't have no guns and goons around, that's when they popped Dr. King. That's not a coincidence. Like even with Malcolm, they used to have like at least 2 to 3 dozen police officers in the vicinity of the Audubon when he'd do his rallies and presentations. It'd be 2 to 3 dozen NYPD finest on the scene when he would do his rallies and speeches at the Audubon. The last time he did that, there was no police around. There was no large police presence around. And matter of fact, his bodyguards were not checking people properly at the door. So, of course, people knew about it, but what you going to do about it? There's a lot of folks know things are going to happen, but they can't do nothing about it. So when they try to do something about it, you're going to never hear about what happened to them. You never know they got disappeared because with Dr. King, there's a couple things. Look up Operation Lantern Spike. That was a military operation that was about Dr. King. And then Dick Gregory and what's the guy's name? The lawyer. Y'all know who wrote Mark Lane, who wrote Rush to Judgment about the Kennedy assassination. The lawyer Mark Lane and Dick Gregory, they wrote a book called Code Name Zorro. The Dr. King code name, the FBI code name for Dr. King was Zorro. So they talk about the government plot to kill King. And, according to Dr. William Pepper, in the book, The Plot to Kill King, Andrew Jackson, Ambassador Young, not Andrew Jackson, but Ambassador Andrew Young, Walter Fontroy, and a couple other people knew that Dr. King was probably killed by the FBI allegedly as early as 1978 when Congress had their MLK and JFK assassinating committee do research into those assassinations. So they knew as early as 1978 that elements within the government, in particular the FBI, had something to do with the death of King. But this is not common knowledge to our people because we don't want to read. We don't want to listen to the elders. We don't take the time when we got platforms like mine or yours, whatever, to disseminate the information so the people can be more aware. This should be common knowledge that the government had Dr. King and Malcolm X and Fred Hampton knocked off. Yeah, I mean, everybody play their part. Yeah, that's the whole purpose. Yeah, Malcolm and Mickey were light-skinned brother with those eyes, right? I'm looking at y'all chat. It's crazy because Mark Lane died the year before Dick Gregory. He actually died down in Charlottesville. Mark Lane. He died in 2016 in Charlottesville and all places. And we know what happened in Charlottesville, right? And Dick died the next year. And Mark Lane was the truth teller. So I guess that's enough for tonight. I went from talking about Chris Rock and John Morant to talking about Dr. King and this other stuff. If you like the words from Brother Hurd, please spread the word. We all BTV on YouTube. If you'd like to support the movement, you can cash out your support $sign R2C2H2. That's $sign R2C2H2. Google Pay, PayPal, or Zelle your support R2C2H2 at gmail.com. That's R2C2H2 at gmail.com. You can Venmo your support at R2C2H2. That's at R2C2H2. You can also buy Artemis art. I got to update my website. I got a whole bunch of artwork that I have yet to see. It's like I just overwhelmed with stuff, man. I look at people. I'm impressed how people got energy just to put stuff out to go with the flow. I'm trying to learn in this new era we found ourselves in how to do that as well in my own way. I'll get there, but check out r2c2h2.com if you want to. Also, you can wear Artemis art. I got my Homer G. Phillips on. Homer G. I talked about Homer G, who he was. He was a G. Go below. If you're on YouTube, go below this video description and access our official Teespring page, R2C2H2 place, R2C2H2's place, our Teespring shelf. You should see some shirts and sweat shirts or whatever, hoodies down below if you're on YouTube. But also, you can Apple Cash your support 901-299-4355. That's 901-299-4355. Or join our YouTube channel. Shout out to Brother D. Griffin. Or you can join us on patreon.com/WeAllB. That's patreon.com/WeAllB. Shout out to Crystal, Sister Crystal Grace for buying some prints. I'm sorry about the miscommunication, but I'm glad that you are enjoying them art prints that you purchased. I'm glad they found a home with you in a beautiful space. And I just want to thank everybody who have supported me over the years, whether it be through listening, sharing the information, donations, buying art, buying other things, or just sending me a good word of encouragement and support is very much appreciated. And y'all are appreciated. Thank you, Sister Law Dog. Dr. Pepper is still alive as far as I know. I got a plaque for him. I got to give it to him. But I'm going to try to get in touch with him because, April 4th this year marks the 55th anniversary of Dr. King's assassination. Most welcome, Sister Gail. I'm sorry about the mishap. That's on my end. I take accountability for that. Yeah, I appreciate it, Law Dog. It's funny. I be seeing my subscribership going to negatives. Like I had so far, I'm in a negative for this month. First month, I was in a negative. I lost subscribers. Last month, I gained subscribers. And this month, I'm losing subscribers. But I don't want to worry about that no more. I'm just doing my universal God's will. And I think God will work it out. Find a way for me to get where I need to go. Well, I'm glad that this could, the stuff I shared tonight is of use to you all. It gives me a good feeling all over that this work was not in vain. Well, some people think that about Sacramento here, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, either here or there. But Memphis is not, it's a big city. We got more people in Memphis than St. Louis. We got more people in Memphis than they have in St. Louis or Atlanta. There's more people in the city of Memphis than there are in the cities of Atlanta and St. Louis. But Memphis is one of those places. You gotta understand, 60 years ago, Memphis was right up there with Dallas, Nashville, and Atlanta. And now you look at fast forward 60 years later, Nashville, Dallas, and Atlanta has left us in the dust, and they booming right now. But Memphis, it was by design, because you gotta understand, Memphis was a stronghold for Black politics. We had Boss Crump, but also you had the Church family, right? Robert Church Sr., who helped save the city from the yellow fever epidemic. He brought the city back by buying the first bond for $1,000 back in the day to bring the city back. He is recognized as being the first black millionaire from the South. His daughter, Mary Church Terrell, was one of the first black women to get a college degree in this country. Great educator, civil rights activist. His son, Robert Church Jr., was a big time leader of the Republican Party, not only at the local level, but at the national level. His son was a big time power broker for the Republican Party. I don't think we ever had a powerful black man since that time of Robert Church Jr., who was able to get things done for black folks at the local and the national level. But they ran him out of Memphis. They ran Robert Church Jr. out of Memphis, the Church Crump machine. Robert Church Jr. helped Crump get the black vote and get things done. But once Franklin Roosevelt became president, they were working on ways to get the Church family out of Memphis. They destroyed a lot of things that we should be remembering the Church family by. Robert Church Sr. built an auditorium, one of the first black-owned auditoriums in the country was built, where it's now known as Church Park. It was a big auditorium where people like Theodore Roosevelt and Booker T. Washington would come to speak to hundreds, if not thousands, of people. Boss Crump destroyed that. I ain't talking about no Ben Crump. I'm talking about the white boy from Mississippi, Boss Crump. He destroyed that auditorium. Then the Church family had a mansion in South Memphis, and Crump destroyed the mansion during a fire convention. He had the firemen demonstrate new tools on the mansion. They set it on fire, so they destroyed the church mansion. It was amazing. And Robert Church, the Church family, was helping Black Memphis with home ownership and businesses. They had a bank here. So imagine if the Church family was able to stay in Memphis and they was able to develop people into business owners and homeowners. What they ended up doing, they destroyed, I believe, the church mansion. They ended up building projects and stuff over there in South Memphis. I'm getting them whatever. But anyway, it's a cold game. Yeah, but we allowed them to do that though. I mean, how many times they got to step on our necks to know that they ain't for us? And that's another question. Yeah, I might get off here. I got to go work in the morning, but I will. That's another thing. Like they try to cut our attention span so short. Well, we can't read, but it's hard for me to read a book now because so many distractions and how they got us focused, man, programmed with the social media thing. But that's another story. It could be the case, but it's weird, man. I'm losing. Yeah. Sister Mimi. Mimi. Al Green had this good song called Mimi. But anyway, all right, let me get out of here. Thank y'all so much for tuning in again where you fit in. Let me read I guess the disclaimer. I can. Read the disclaimer. Thank y'all for the patience. I'm sorry for the mishap early in the show. Oh, they not too bad. Disclaimer: the views expressed by host and guests on the We All Be TV platform are not the official views, opinions, beliefs, or perspectives of We All Be News or the We All Be Group Incorporated. We All Be News is an organization that thoroughly believes in supplementing the information narrative that is usually supplied by the corporate news entities with those viewpoints and expressions which may be marginalized or ignored for a plethora of reasons. We are about informing the general public on alternative perspectives as it relates to news and information, and letting the general public be the ultimate judge in deciding on how to use said information. Informed citizens are responsible citizens. Thank you for your support. So thank you all once again for your support. The words of the great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. The words of Brother Ron, keep on producing and pushing. And I'm out of here. Good night, all. One love. And know that the best is yet to come. Ta-da.